ClueCon Weekly, the FreeSWITCH community's official web show. Tune in every week for updates in the FreeSWITCH project, interesting presentations, and interact with members of the FreeSWITCH community. ClueCon Weekly is brought to you by FreeSWITCH Solutions, the officially endorsed consulting firm of the FreeSWITCH project. FreeSWITCH Solutions solves problems so you can focus on your business. Visit FreeSWITCH.com for more information. The ClueCon WebRTC and Telephony Developers Conference. ClueCon is held every August in the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois. Meet the developers of all your favorite open source telephony projects, make the connections you need to meet your business goals, and see the latest and greatest technology in WebRTC and telephony. Visit ClueCon.com for more details.
Alright guys, welcome to ClueCon Weekly. Today is June 8th, and we'll have Matthew and Amandine from Matrix.org joining us here shortly. Just a couple of things real quick. Would like to take a moment to shout out to the FreeSWITCH community. We do need some guys to help out with some documentation. So if you can help us out with that, join the FreeSWITCH docs list at list.freeswitch.org. We do need some help in finishing up the migration of the old wiki onto Confluence. So we would, if you guys want to help out with that, drop us an email, join the docs list, and there'll be some coordination going on there on how we can get that wrapped up in short order. Also, Mike, Brian, Tony, and the rest of the team have been working pretty heavily on getting another release out the door. So you guys keep an eye out for that. That should be coming down the pipe here in the next short period of time in the days and type scale frame. So you guys watch out for that. And coming up, we got Mr. West. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome today. So everything is fast approaching, guys, for ClueCon. What are we at now? 59 days? Let's go look. If you've not registered yet, it's 60 days, 21 hours, and 56 minutes. If you've not registered, do so as quickly as possible. Pay attention to our Facebook and Twitter. If you have speaking proposals, be sure to get those in before the 15th. The schedule is rapidly filling up. We've already started publishing the speakers. Kathleen will be tweeting out some information on each speaker and each talk proposal. So keep an eye on those things for us. If you guys have any questions, call 877-74-A-CLUE, and you can talk to me. And I'll answer all your questions and help you with your registration.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Are there any other things that we're ready to announce for that on yet, like maybe some parties and fun and stuff like that?
Yes, Kathleen?
Yes. Well, we've got news from the code today. A minor feature in Mod Sophia was added. Cisco SPA30X and GrandSeam GXP user agents for sending updates. And then in ClueCon news, we've got some exciting event updates for ClueCon. We're having the annual pizza party with a twist this year. We will be eating Chicago-style pizza provided by Giordano's. So get in, get registered, RSVP for the pizza party if you'd like to attend that. We do have kind of limited space there, so you need to let us know as soon as possible. And then we're also excited to announce that Telnex is joining us as a sponsor this year, and they are hosting an evening event on Wednesday, the 10th of August. This is going to be a can't-miss party with games, drinks, music. It's going to be a great time. I believe it's 7 to midnight. A lot of fun. RSVP for that as well when you register. We need to get a count on who's going to be attending that. So register as soon as possible to reserve your spot and let us know if you want to go. And today we have a little bit of a special treat. If you register today using the code CC16TWEET, you can get a special discount on your registration today. So I will be tweeting that out in a little bit, but those of you watching who have not registered for ClueCon yet, CC16TWEET for a special ClueCon Weekly discount on your registration. Be sure to RSVP again for both of these events when you register to reserve your spot. And then like us on Facebook, ClueCon and FreeSWITCH. Follow us on Twitter at ClueCon at FreeSWITCH, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for all the latest updates. You will be getting them as soon as they come out. Stay connected by joining our HipChat channels, hipchat@freeswitch.org, and IRC#FreeSWITCH to join the conversation, talk to the devs, ask any questions. And then be sure to head over to FreeSWITCH.com to learn more about FreeSWITCH support. And those are my announcements for the day, Ken.
All right, cool. Thank you, Kathleen.
Quick
question:
Kathleen,
how much of a discount is on that? Yes, I was going to ask her the same thing, Brian, on that code. And for those that are watching and didn't catch it, are you going to tweet it?
I am about to tweet it, and that will save you $100 on your registration. So keep an eye out for that. I will be tweeting it shortly.
Yeah. And I believe there is a limited number on that, so you guys get in and get registered early on that, so you don't miss that $100 discount. And all right, guys, I want to introduce Matthew Hodgson and Amandine from the Matrix.org project. These guys have been Matthew's been with us before, and Matrix is a pretty cool project they've got going over there. And it uses FreeSWITCH for part of it and a whole bunch of other neat bits. So, Matthew, how are you guys doing today?
Hi there, Ken. Thanks for having us on the show. We're actually joining you here from the depths of the Internet Archive in San Francisco, where we're here for the Decentralized Web Summit, but we've just stepped out of the keynote, which is happening above us by Vint Cerf, who invented the Internet, in order to come and chat to you guys. And so, yeah, it's an honor to be here, and fun to talk about Matrix and some of the exciting announcements which Amandine is going to give a sneak preview of in a few minutes. I don't know whether it would make sense to give a quick reminder of what Matrix is, perhaps to kick off?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, Matrix is a open source non-profit project, and what we've done is to define a standard for interoperable communications, which is completely decentralized. So this, you can think of it as a kind of evolution beyond SIP. So for context, our background was building SIP infrastructure for many years, admittedly proprietary and commercial SIP stuff. And that was MCUs, it was soft switches, load balancers, VoIP stacks, WebRTC stacks, the whole enchilada. And then a few years ago, we decided to bin SIP and built Matrix as an alternative protocol, and it runs on top of HTTP. And the really interesting thing is that if you set up a VoIP call or send some messages over it, the conversation is completely shared over the participating servers. So if FreeSWITCH was running a Matrix server and Amandine is on the Vector Matrix server and I'm on the Matrix.org server, and the three of us are in the conversation together, that room that the voice and the video, the messages, the files, the read receipts, typing notifications, all that good stuff is happening in, is shared equally over the three different domains. So that if the FreeSWITCH server went down, heaven forbid, on FreeSWITCH.org, the room would continue to exist. And so you have this very robust kind of self-healing architecture, a bit like Git, for those familiar with how Git works, except optimized for real-time communication. So this is what Matrix is. It's about a year and a half old now, and we're in late beta. And on the Matrix side of the project, what we've done is to define the spec and release it on matrix.org, and also put out some reference implementations of the server written in Python and Twisted, and also lots of different client SDKs for JavaScript, for iOS, for Android, Python, Perl, and the community as a whole has contributed all sorts of SDKs from languages ranging from Emacs Lisp to Elixir and Erlang and Ruby, all of the interesting stuff that we as the core team haven't got to. So historically, we've been building stuff on top of the kind of baseline spec, really to prove that the spec works and bootstrap the ecosystem. But we're really at an interesting point in the project now that, whilst we're still in beta, all of the building blocks now are in place, in that we have the servers, we have the client SDKs, we have bridges to things like Slack and HipChat and IRC and the PSTN provided by FreeSWITCH. We have group video via, again, using the FreeSWITCH switch as an MCU. And we're really starting to see the community come to life. Right now we've got about, I think, 500 servers in the Open Federation of Matrix, which admittedly isn't quite as big as the web, or I'm sure there are a few more than 500 FreeSWITCH deployments out there in the world. But for such relatively new and experimental technology, we're pretty happy with this. And more interestingly, we've got about 250,000 users actually on the matrix.org server alone. And obviously we don't have visibility over the whole wider ecosystem, but it's fun to see it now up in the hundreds of thousands of users. So that's basically a quick status update of where we're at on Matrix itself. I should let Amandine introduce herself and hand over to you also.
Sure, thanks, Matthew. So yeah, I'm here mostly to introduce something we're going to launch tomorrow, which is the very first production-ready Matrix application. So it's called Vector. It's a collaboration app, completely open source, and built on top of Matrix. So basically using all the very cool stuff that Matrix provides to get a great collaboration experience. So completely, it's built around chat rooms, and you can access both public and private ones. You can jump in easily via guest access and then start sharing with others, so be it text or files or voice, video, and across several devices, because we have the web version of it and Android and iOS already out there, and we're probably going to show you how it looks like.
Yeah, we should actually do a screen share and show what's going on. Hopefully this will work. We tried earlier and my Chrome crashed, which obviously isn't FreeSWITCH's fault, but Google's. But oh wow, that was magic! I didn't even have to touch anything. Okay. So this might be familiar to some people because Vector has been around in various stages of development since, I guess, late last year. But the big news is that we're adding the mobile clients on iOS and Android. We should make it clear this isn't a Matrix.org project. It's a separate initiative that has been built with a large overlap with the Matrix.org team, but still it's a separate company going and building a new system on top of this new app, basically, as Amandine says, a production-ready app on top of the Matrix standard. So what you're looking at right here is my personal Matrix account and on Vector. Let me quickly dip over to it, and you can see that here I've got, in fact, so I've got a couple of hundred rooms here. In fact, I've got about 500 rooms which I'm in, and these rooms are coming in through Matrix, and they are from all over the shop. So, for instance, Decentralized Web Summit is where we're at here at the Internet Archive right now. This room has got 115 people in it, and they are from all over the place. So some of these folks are natively here on Matrix. We've got Mitchell Baker, who's CEO of Mozilla, happily chatting away currently. So she's, I think, coming in, if we hover over, from the Slack side of the bridge. You can see that well, you might not be able to see, but suffice it to say there's a hover over showing that she's coming in from Slack. And meanwhile, someone like Double Malt here is running it from the Matrix side. We've got people coming in on the IRC side. And so this is a classic example on the Matrix side of things of how you can have a chat. And you can see the read receipts popping down on the right-hand side, which is an interesting thing because Slack doesn't do read receipts because it's a bit limited, really. But we have them on Vector, and it's fun to see them being synchronized in there. Amandine?
So yeah, that's a good example of the Slack bridge. You can have a quick look at the directory, and which will list for you all the existing public rooms available on the matrix.org server, so you can see there are a bunch of them. If I
It's worth noting some of these things are huge. Like the Matrix HQ room at the top has got 3,500 people in it right now. Which and this is spread over about 300 participating servers. And you can see people again coming in from IRC, some from Slack, some from XMPP. And you can even see there's Ken going and plugging us in our own HQ room. You can see one of the nice features of Vector here is going and taking the YouTube live stream and creating an automatic preview of it, a bit like Slack does, though we think our heuristics are a little bit better. We can keep infinite scrolling through. You can see a green read marker that just vanished there, which showed me the last time that I'd read up to in the room. You can keep scrolling back, and it's infinite scrolling in here. And this room has got the whole community in it. It's kind of our lobby for the Matrix community as people go and chat away. Perhaps, well, you're going to say something, Amandine?
I was about to finish your...
I was going to go and geek out and say, hey, at the Matrix level, even in Vector, you can go and click on any of these messages, and you can get permalinks to them, which is really, really useful in terms of having literally a permalink to any content anywhere in the Matrix ecosystem, whether it's an IRC or Slack or any kind of message, or you can view the source. And if I go and view in some random message like this, you can see the underlying JSON that represents the content in Matrix, who sent it, its ID, the timestamp, but critically you've got the body, complete with arbitrary Unicode for things like emoji, and the message type. And this is kind of the simplest possible bit of the Matrix there. But I guess we should be talking about Vector rather than Matrix. So,
well, it's quite well interleaved, so it's interesting to show how Vector is actually leveraging Matrix behind it. So we've seen the bridges to IRC, we've seen the bridges to Slack, and one another useful thing is all the bridges with the integrations with various tools. So I don't know which of your rooms would be best suited to show like a GitHub integration, for example, or a Jira one. Showing.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the integration work is still ongoing, honestly. And one of the things that Vector is going to be offering in future is a hosted environment for people to run automatic integrations to things like GitHub, which are provided by Vector. So you don't have to run your own ones or share a kind of communal one. But right now it's set up with some relatively simple bots and things. Let me go into the Matrix core room, which is where all our dev chat happens. And I can just go and file a bug here through a bot with a pling Vector, pling GitHub command. I'll go and file a bug against Vector saying, it works, ship it. And here it's going and just talking to a bot called AnyBot, which goes and automatically creates that issue. Now, it's not quite live yet, but the hosted integrations are about to come, which would allow that to be done on my behalf, actually with me authenticated with GitHub, so it does it with my credentials. And likewise with Jira and Jenkins and various other integrations that we're putting in right now. But some people will have seen Vector on the web before. I guess we should really be talking about the mobile apps.
Yep, let's have a look.
So let's see if I can switch the screen share over to my phone. Everybody hold on. Are we coming through okay, by the way, Ken? Is this making sense?
Yes, it is, very much.
Awesome,
Cool.
Brilliant. So I'm going to try changing to my iPhone. And did that work? Are you getting my iPhone feed now?
I believe we are.
Awesome. Okay, so here we are again. So this is on my 6 Plus, and as you can see, we've actually got an excellent dynamic layout here on iOS. It's a completely native app. There's no web components going on at all here. You can see me. I was sending a message earlier, but I actually dropped off the network. I was waiting to Mozilla from Matrix in the decentralized web room. I'm going to go and resend that message now, so it actually goes through. You can see the conversation is chatting away down there. And in terms of, well, I've got all of the same conversations going on here that we were looking at on the web interface on the left-hand side. This UI scales all the way up to iPads and tablet form factors. If I just rotate it around again, it collapses nicely back into the sort of more simplified iPhone screen. You can see we've got these badge notifications showing where all my unread messages are, different favorites. I've got a new conversation coming in from Ross, who's one of the guys here at the conference today. I could answer his invite and see what he wants to say, but it's probably a bit of a privacy violation, so I might leave that one there. We've got Dave there in Matrix Internal complaining that you guys are using HepChat rather than Vector, but I'm sure in time we might see a change there, you never know. So that basically gives you an idea of where we're at on the Matrix, on the iOS side of Vector.
So an interesting feature as well is that you can tune very finely your notifications. So there are lots of room and a lot of big rooms like the HQ one, for example, but then you can just say, I want to be notified only for this and this, and which level of notifications you want in terms of just showing up something or actually getting a highlight on it.
So I don't know whether we've exposed all of those yet, but if I go and tap into this room, you can see we've got the 3,000 odd people in it here, and then in settings
on iOS,
we've got the basics of the mute notifications here at the bottom. But yeah, as Amandine says, at the Matrix level, you have an incredibly finely granular architecture for configuring those.
And it works, basically you access it from the web, or I think the Android app is further along on this side of things.
I was going to suggest that we showed Android, except we have a slight problem that we don't have an easy way to screen share from Android onto my Mac, because the network here at the Internet Archive is filtering out any kind of AirPlay style screening. So Ken, if I can ask you to cut us back to video, we'll go and bridge the analog gap in order to show a screencaster of my S6 right here.
Oh, definitely.
Perfect. So meanwhile, back on the analog app, here's my S6, and hopefully you guys can see the lock screen. Okay, and first of all, you can see that we've got a GCM notification coming in at the top from my colleague Dave. Come on, you silly phone. You can see 14 unread messages there from Dave and Vector asking what the server's name is. I'm just going to unlock the phone so we can have them see the app. 1 second. Okay, and here we have a test user here on Android Vector. It's a bit more green than the one on iOS.
So you can see the same. Oh no, it's not the same because it's on the same account. But
yeah, different account. So a whole bunch of missed conversations, which I've been ignoring there, and huge badge counts here because I use this account fairly infrequently. You can probably see that there's 2,000 missed messages since I last used this on Matrix Internal, and this is surprisingly hard to do because I'm navigating by the reflected version of the call. So there's fun latency going on there. Let me. Oh yeah, there were 14,000 missed messages in hash off topic. Let me go into the Vector room there. So here is a typical room like hash Vector, which is our sort of main user flow for people using the app. And you can see the read receipts there on the right-hand side. It's all looking kind of similar to iOS. But, come on, this is FreeSWITCH. We should probably stop talking about the messaging side of things and talk a bit more about the VoIP. So we haven't got some WebRTC live on iOS yet. It's just a matter of time. But on Android, we've actually got the Google WebRTC library in there already. And so what I'm going to do is to
switch back to Chrome.
Well, no, I was going to actually show it from the Android side, perhaps, or perhaps we can switch over. Let's try both. This can't possibly go wrong. So if I hold the phone like that, and meanwhile on my Chrome one, I'm going to go to the room, a room which I had on the run here. I'm going to place a video call like so. So I've got a ringback tone happening there. Oh, hello. What's happening? My phone's. Oh, and I accidentally hung up on the Android side. Let me try that one again briefly. Okay, so I've now accepted it on here, and you can see, rather confusingly, the WebRTC call going through on Android from my laptop here. So perhaps it would make more sense if I hadn't done Android phone for Amandine.
How do I?
You might want to mute that thing.
Yeah, finding the mute button on it. There we go, got it. Sorry about that. And if you switch us back to screen share, I will switch to screen share on this side. To Chrome. This is easy, isn't it? There she is.
Hello.
Have you got the screen share coming
Yep,
from
I'm
outside?
waiting for it. There it goes.
Perfect. And so yeah, this is what was actually happening on the other side of the call. So you've got the WebRTC coming in from Android and there into Vector. And let me go and collapse things to my Amandine figure. Thank you for modeling, Amandine. There we go. And in fact, we could even go full screen. Although I dread to think how that will work with the screen sharing, so I'll probably just leave it like this for now. So that gives an idea of a sort of just mobile to desktop screen share or video call going on. On the FreeSWITCH side of things, let me hang up this one. And let's jump into, where do we want to go? Let's try what we did earlier. Do you have your laptop to hand anywhere, Amandine? Yes. So what we use in FreeSWITCH for is both the VoIP interrupt for going and terminating and originating calls on the PSTN, which isn't fully hooked up yet, in all honesty. But meanwhile, this is hash FreeSWITCH on Freenode, which is bridged obviously into Matrix, and again you can going and plugging the show there. If I go and hit the video calling button here on the bottom right, though, it's going and dialing through to FreeSWITCH, and this is a pretty recent build from a couple of weeks ago, and it's working pretty well. And it's literally started a video conference basically in that IRC room, and Amandine's just gone and joined it from her crappy Lenovo laptop, which is why it looks as if she's almost black and white. You get the idea that we've upgraded the IRC room here into a full FreeSWITCH-backed MCU. So this is still a bit beta, and oops, that was Amandine's crappy laptop completely losing connectivity, so sorry we've lost Amandine there. There's a bit of polishing that we can do on this, and when we were testing this with Ken earlier, it was certainly having some problems on Chrome Canary still. So in the next few months we're going to completely finish this off, and I think it'll be fascinating to see FreeSWITCH powering the MCU stuff in earnest. But as you can see, a lot of work has gone into all the rest of the platform in the interim, and we're really excited to go and plug the WebRTC in and get it all working. So, yep. Anything else that we should be saying about Vector, Andy?
What have we gone through? So yeah, easy for people to just go and run their own server and have all their discussions owned by themselves with their server under their beds if they want to, or by any company. Then you can also use any kind of Matrix clients, because we've talked about the bridges between other apps, other ecosystems, but then it's just a matter of using other Matrix clients if you want to. And yeah, in terms of features, I think we've gone through most of them, and
we should show them Hashcats. Should we show them Hashcats?
Let's go for
like any kind of chat system, inevitably there are rooms dedicated to nothing but photos of cats. So this is an interesting sort of mass project which is contributed to by a huge number of people. So Bowley, for instance, is running his own Matrix over here at bowley.net. He federated up yesterday. First thing he does is to go and post a cat. We've got Ivy, who's somewhere in Russia, who goes and sends an never-ending set of cats. I mean, it's a silly example, but you get the idea of how people could be using this for the sort of file transfer side of things. On the Matrix side.
And in terms of user experience, as you see, the UI is pretty discrete, and basically the idea is really to get the user to focus on the content itself and have something which is quite hidden in the background, but providing the features you actually need to collaborate. And given it's open source, you can also just fork it and brand it to your own things if you want to. So yeah, hopefully it's a good example for people looking for something open to work, and where you don't have to depend on a single proprietary silo, and where you can keep your data for your own and share with others.
So something we've completely failed to mention is where to get it. So if you want to use Vector, you probably want to go to Vector.im. There isn't a website there yet. It'll land tomorrow for the official launch, but it will drop you straight into the app, and that will either be on the web or iOS or Android, depending on the user agent of your web browser. Does that make sense, Ken? Any questions on the FreeSWITCH side? Thanks for letting us ramble on.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple of questions for you. One, I'm looking at my list of names here, and I seem to see your name on a list for August.
Yes, so we're absolutely going to be over for ClueCon in August. I think that Amandine is making the most of the Grand Vacances in France and isn't going to be involved, but I'll certainly be coming over, and I'm really looking forward to explaining Matrix and also showing off Vector to the wider FreeSWITCH community.
Oh yeah, man, we'd love to have you there. We're gonna love having you there. So just let me know when we need to put you on the schedule on that, because I've already got you down here. I've already got you a slot down here, so you're gonna be there.
Awesome.
We'll come
We'll be there. Modulated disasters like last year, but I'm hoping lightning doesn't strike twice, and I'll be definitely there with bells on and looking forward to it.
Yeah. Now, on Matrix.im, I know you mentioned we can go there tomorrow. The site will launch for that. Now, is there if I want to play with just Matrix, is there an easy way for me to grab like an ISO or a script or something that I could just run and turn a box into a Matrix server?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, Vector.im is obviously the glossy client that we're launching tomorrow, basically. But if I go to matrix.org itself, which is the overall project homepage, then there's a link here for Try Matrix Now, and this lists the entire ecosystem. So on the client side, we've got command line clients like WeChat, we've got obviously Vector that we've been talking about, but then there's a huge range of wider ones from the community. So there's Quaternion, which is a Qt-based desktop app that runs on Windows and OS 10 and Linux. Tensor, which is another desktop app, but using a very different sort of look and feel. PTO allows you to go and connect to Matrix via IRC, so it basically turns all of Matrix into one great big decentralized IRC network. Matrix Console is our old kind of test jig sat on top of our SDKs, very minimal, but quite useful for developers building Matrix clients. And there's a whole fleet of others which I won't read through. Now, on the server side of things, Synapse is our main one, which is written in Python and Twisted, which is what matrix.org runs today. And this is a late beta. If I click through to its GitHub page. And by the way, I should have mentioned all of this is open source, including Vector. It's all Apache licensed, and it's all sitting up there on GitHub. And so please fork it, and PRs are always welcome. Looking at the Synapse page here, it's going to link me through to the GitHub README. But in fact, no, let me just jump back. We've got the apps repository, so it's just a apt-get install matrix-synapse. If you've got that in your app sources, you can get a Docker file. There's an alternative Docker file. We've got distributions for FreeBSD, Arch Linux, a whole bunch of other RPMs and things for even NixOS, if anybody's running NixOS. And it should be incredibly easy to get your own Synapse up and running these days. It's pretty much a pure Python pip package with a couple of crypto native dependencies. And I'm happy to say that almost all of the Python packaging hell that we've had in the past is being resolved these days.
Yeah, cool. Cool. And that leads me to one more question, and then this may be something we have to talk about after tomorrow. But do you guys have, for maybe Vector, an API that we could incorporate into ClueCon for people to play for the coder games?
So Vector is built entirely on the Matrix APIs. It has no Vector-specific APIs at all. So all of the Matrix project's functionality for sending messages, sending up calls, getting at history, end-to-end encryption coming very soon. By ClueCon, that should be out, in fact, is available to everybody in the ClueCon and FreeSWITCH community.
Cool. Definitely cool. So, all right, guys. Anybody else have questions for Matt or Amandine? And that goes for you guys listening on IRC also.
I think you mean Matrix.
Or the Matrix, or YouTube, or wherever.
Go find the FreeSWITCH room and see whether anyone's out there. Oh, there's James waving at us.
Yep.
But
Apparently,
tragically,
Mr. Bodian's on the train as usual. But
eventually admit to having lost his home and living entirely on trains in southern England at some point.
Yeah. So a couple of things that you guys kind of breezed across real quick. I heard, I think I saw this on, Hash Matrix on Freenode, and I think I just saw a link there. But how is you guys Atlassian integration for things like Jira, HipChat, and Bamboo?
So the Jira integration exists and works really well. Let me demonstrate quickly. So if I again go to the core room and I pull up a bug, confused developers wondering why I said that we should ship everything. If I pull up a bug like spec 162, then again the bot is automatically going and expanding that out into the Jira issue and linking through to our Jira. At the moment it's bot-based, but in future it will be a fully authenticated hosted solution that is logging in on my behalf into Jira and letting me file bugs and change priority, etc.
And when we're talking about future, it's like 1 week away or similar. It's a couple of weeks. It's not like 6 months.
Indeed.
Okay. Yeah, I have ulterior motives for this because, well, I have grown to love to hate Jira and HipChat and others. I can't do without them, but I could see use cases for, like exactly what you just demonstrated here. And with Jira, can you do things like open Jira tickets or resolve tickets and stuff like that through?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could be Jira, create, synapse, rewrite it in Perl 6, and throw that in there and see whether I can get anybody a heart attack on the team.
Yeah, somebody just started yelling at you. Could have been working just to rewrite it in Quick Basic.
Oh yeah, or a good old original Microsoft Basic, surely. I mean, that's, none of this QBasic stuff with its fiendish text user interfaces. So yeah, in terms of HipChat integration, this isn't finalized yet. We've got a bunch of XMPP bridges contributed by the community. In fact, you can see the read receipts coming down here as people on the team view the message and look on, hopefully in panic. I know that at least one of those guys, there's Amandine reading it on her phone. Concentrate, we're meant to be on TV.
I was just demonstrating read receipts.
Oh yeah, of course you were. What was I saying?
Guy told.
HipChat. XMPP.
Oh yeah, HipChat, XMPP, they all suck, the XMPP bridges at the moment, and so we need to do a proper one for HipChat. But once that's in place, it will, I think, be really useful for communities such as yours, which is split between IRC and HipChat, and I'm sure there are other people connecting by other things. So HipChat's probably our single biggest gap right now on the bridging side of things, but it'll be coming real soon now.
All right, guys. Anybody else have questions for Matthew or Amandine?
I think we bought everyone else. Cheers.
If you guys want to get anything else in here, come on. Keep going.
I think a high-level summary, basically that Vector is open source collaboration app, completely built on top of Matrix, so benefiting from everything out of it, including the decentralization and ability to run your server on your data, all the bridges that Matrix provides. And it's available on web at Vector.im and on iOS and Android in the different app stores. So, good entry point to the whole Matrix ecosystem.
Absolutely. I could talk a bit more about the encryption stuff. In fact, it might be interest on the FreeSWITCH and Berto side of things. We've really tried to push the boundaries on end-to-end encryption in Matrix. Right now, it's missing, but over the last year and a bit, we've actually implemented our own cryptographic ratchet called OLM, which is based on the spec of a ratchet written by Open Whisper Systems called the double ratchet. It's what is used by apps like Signal and what was text secure WhatsApp. The new Google Allo app uses this as well. So it's an incredibly well-respected sort of spec for doing end-to-end encryption. We've gone and written our own C implementation, as it happens, which is Apache licensed, and that is what we're going and adding into Vector in the very near future. In fact, I saw a Matrix call earlier on, these red messages from Rich telling me how to turn on encryption in Vector. I'm afraid that I'm not running on a local copy at the moment, so I can't experiment with this. It's probably not a good idea to
do it live.
do it live. But this, as you can see, is almost landed and coming very soon. And it's designed to be a very, very simple API that can be plugged into really anybody needing to have full end-to-end encryption, obviously, of any kind of messages, whether that's chat or data or signaling, etc. And the fun thing about Om, which is the library's name, is that it also handles synchronized history incredibly well. So in the Matrix use case, where you're not just sending messages from A to B, you're really synchronizing a history of a room between different servers. You really need the ability to decrypt multiple times on different devices and on different servers when you invite new people into a room. And it supports that, which the double ratchet spec in its normal implementation just doesn't, because they're much more focused on perfect forward security and avoiding ever being able to decrypt things. Whereas in Matrix, you literally have a room setting, and you can say that room is completely unencrypted, or it could be completely encrypted with perfect forward security, or it could be a spectrum in between the two, so that you can go and replay the history and decrypt it on other devices, which makes for a much, much better user experience in Matrix land. So watch this space for that stuff landing. We are hoping to perhaps be able to show it for the show today, but as you can see, it's not quite there yet. But wanted to give you guys a heads up.
I have to ask an obvious question. Because of a personal experience, were you asked to not call it axolotl?
Did you notice us not using that word, the one that I can't say?
The only reason I know is because of personal experience along that axis.
I couldn't possibly comment. So if you noticed, the ratchet, which may have once had a different name, is nowadays called double ratchet. And this is part of Open Whisper Systems trying to make a clear differentiation between the underlying cryptographic ratchet, now called the double ratchet, and then all of the additional semantics on top that they put into Signal, that they call the Signal protocol. So I think it's a Signal protocol that they've licensed through to WhatsApp and Google and people. We're not using Signal protocol. Instead, the Om implementation is, as I say, it's a completely independent one of the lower level of the ratchet. But yes, there's been some clarification, shall we say, made to the names that they've used in the past in order to differentiate the different levels of the stack for whatever reason. But in all honesty, it's not a big problem for us, and it is worth noting that Om is a European type of salamander that you find in the caves in Slovenia, and it's potentially related as an animal to certain species of salamander that you find underwater in parts of North America. But beyond that, I can possibly comment.
I'll say that this is Travis from. We also have a axolotl, a double ratchet style implementation.
Cool.
At Silent Circle, which is now called Xena, and it's also published under an Apache license up on GitHub.
Awesome. What language is it?
It's in C++.
Cool.
And it used to. It's no longer, but it was once on GitHub called Live Salamander, but for similar homage, but that proved to be too unsettling. So.
Oh, really? Salamander is too close to the word I'm not allowed to say. That's
right,
interesting.
Yes.
Well, luckily, Om is sufficiently obscure.
Right.
So does so it's called Xena now, and it was libsalamander?
That's right, yeah. It's called libxena.
So does libxena do pure PFS, or do you have the ability to kind of selectively advance the group ratchet if you want to replay history or synchronize it across devices.
I didn't quite catch your question, Sagan.
So is it PFS? Are you aggressively advancing the group ratchet for every message, or is it using, or does it support replaying history?
Was the first word you said peerless?
PFS. Perfect forward security.
Oh, perfect forward secrecy. Yes, it's definitely, it is strongly enforces perfect forward secrecy.
Okay.
So it's aggressively pushing forward the ratchet, but because you have the two-dimensional ratchet there, you have a lot of flexibility. So.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. I guess it's basically ends up being a user experience trade-off between proper PFS, where you just can't ever re-decrypt messages because you decrypt it once and you throw away the key, versus in practice, if I buy a new device, the ability to synchronize my existing conversation onto that device is kind of useful, even though it reduces the security to some extent. So we're basically trying to support both types of semantics and matrix with Ulm.
Yeah, you run into a lot of interesting lifetime issues if you try and do that. So that's an interesting problem.
Cool. Anybody else have anything else for us?
All right, guys. Anybody else? All right, guys. Well, then I guess we can go ahead and wrap this up. Matthew, Amandine, thanks for coming out and joining us today. We greatly appreciate it. You guys go visit them, Vector.im. Did I get that right?
You did.
Perfect.
Tomorrow. They'll have the website online, and you can check out Vector. Also, visit them at matrix.org, and you can check it out there. And don't forget, go register for ClueCon. Matthew will be at ClueCon this year, or we'll track him down. And bring everybody from matrix.org with you, Matt. See who we can drag along there. Also, don't forget, if you're going to register for ClueCon today, use that CC16 tweet. Follow us on Twitter to find that code. And that's valid for the first handful of people that can go out there and use that. Don't forget, next week we'll be back here with the guys from Digim. We'll have Matt Jordan and some other guys from there, so you won't want to miss that. And again, thanks Matthew, thanks Amandine, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And before I forget, hit the subscribe button, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook.